All right, now business plan. You remember the title of our workshop is business plan. So what should go in your business plan? We have a very clear and well-structured business plan outline that we use whenever we develop a business plan for a startup, and that we expect to see in all the business plans that we get from startups. We start with an executive summary, then we talk about the value proposition innovation, market identification analysis, marketing sales strategy, sustainable competitive advantage. These are all we call overview, innovation, and market, and then we look at the more detail on company, products, and service, team, expansion, operation plan, and financial plan. So this is a very thorough, rigorous way to think about the opportunity for your startup. How do we, as an entrepreneur, how do we communicate the information about our company to investors? So we should have at least three main documents, pieces of marketing material, executive summary, business plan, and investor presentation slides. The executive summary is very short. Ideally, it's 1 page. Some cases, it might go 2 or 3 pages. And this includes all of the key information that is in the business plan. So an investor reading the executive summary should be able to know everything that was on the previous slide. What's your innovation value proposition? How big is the market? How fast is it growing? Et cetera. This is what we usually send first to investors when they're interested in our idea. Second is a business plan, which is a detailed exposition of all the key elements for success that I showed on a previous slide. And this is going to have also include a financial plan, so a detailed financial model that shows the key financial elements in the plan, which I'll talk about later. We have investor presentation slides, which we use when we do investor presentations. And we need to be prepared to make verbal presentations to investors, both formal and informal. So a formal presentation, okay, let's walk through the process of getting investment for your startup. So you meet an investor. Let's say you meet an investor at a networking event. Then you have a brief discussion with the investor. So the investor says, oh, so what are you working on? And then you say what? Sorry, this took too long. I'm on to the next person. So, no, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Or let me talk about that now. So informal presentation is this sort of back and forth like this. If you're an entrepreneur, so you guys are maybe not entrepreneurs yet, but if you're an entrepreneur, when somebody, especially an investor, asks you what you're working on, you are ready to respond right away, immediately. So let's try again. What's that?
Yeah, I'm working in semiconductors.
That's great. Okay, so, but let's say you had a real idea, so then you go into the idea. And then we talk about the idea for a few minutes. And then if I'm interested, and then we'll exchange business cards. And then you will follow up with what? Email. And then you send an email with maybe with an executive summary. So, nice to meet you at a networking event. We discussed about my project that I'm working on. Here's an executive summary in case you're interested to find out more. And so what is this? This process that I'm describing implies what? What had to happen before you met the investor at the networking event? You created your executive summary already. Now, because this is a big mistake I see entrepreneurs make. So we meet at the networking event, and what are you working on? It's interesting. Oh, send me email with what? Nothing. Or go home and start feverishly writing the executive summary. And then you finish it 3 days later, and you finally send it next week. And by then, I forgot all about this idea. And I move on to the next idea. So you have to have all your materials ready to go as soon as you meet investors. You don't want there to be a lag in between that first conversation and when you send the first material. And the same thing on your business plan. Let's say you send the executive summary. The next step will be normally, if it's something interesting, we'll arrange a meeting. You come into the meeting, and then we do like a 1-hour discussion about your idea, and this is normally accompanied with some PowerPoint slides. Then at the end of that presentation, if there's continued interest, then I'll say, oh, do you have a business plan? And you're going to say what? Yes, you have the business plan. Again, if you don't have the business plan, now you have to go home and write it. How long does that take? I mean, to write a good business plan, it can take 6 to 8 weeks. So by then, the whole deal is finished. No, interest is dissipated and moved on to the next thing. So materials have to be all prepared in advance so that they're ready to go as soon as you meet investors. And you have to become like very effective at doing your verbal presentations, especially informal verbal presentations. Because the first job of the entrepreneur is presenting. And okay, and how many people have done presentations before? And where did you do the presentations? Oh, what type of presentation? Yeah. So okay. So this is good. On the one hand, you have some experience doing presentations. On the negative side, or the downside is most of these presentations were at scientific conferences or symposiums or whatever, where the style of the presentation is going to totally work against you for investors. So later, I'm going to talk about how do we take what we have learned in the scientific presentations and use that for our investor presentations.